I remember the first crisp morning after I decided to leave my old story behind. I was on my front porch, just me, a steaming mug of chamomile tea, and the soft hush of dawn. The sky was painted in gentle pastels, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel that familiar tug of past regrets pulling at my heart. Instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in ages: lightness. Not the airy, floaty kind, but a steady, grounded warmth that whispered, "You're free to begin again." That quiet moment reminded me that sometimes the biggest step isn't forward, but away from the old script we cling to, the one that says we're too old, too tired, or too set in our ways to change. If you're watching this, you may recognize that old story in yourself. It might be the voice that tells you your best days are behind you, that you're too old to learn new things or to dream new dreams. At 60, 70, or beyond, it's easy to wear our past like a comfortable sweater, even if it no longer fits. But what if I told you the very thing you need most isn't adding something new to your life, but walking away from the tale you've told yourself for decades? Today, I want to share with you why letting go of your old story can be the most liberating gift you ever give yourself, and how that gift can open doors you never dreamed possible. By the end of this video, you'll understand how releasing your old narrative can lift a weight you've carried too long, spark curiosity for what's still unwritten, and invite a sense of adventure back into your days. Think of this as an invitation to a gentle revolution in how you see yourself. No grand gestures required, just the courage to whisper goodbye to whatever no longer serves you and hello to fresh possibilities. This isn't about erasing your past. It's about choosing which chapters to leave on the shelf as you step into the next act, full of wisdom, humor, and the freedom to write your own ending. Let's begin with the very first shift, feeling the weight lift when you release that old, familiar story. A few weeks ago, I met my friend Marjorie for our morning walk. She's in her late 60s, full of sprightly energy, but she confessed she still felt shackled by regrets over things she should have done differently. As we strolled beneath the oaks, I asked her to imagine carrying her past like a pair of heavy boots. Every misstep, every if only was another stone in those soles. Then I asked her to picture slipping those boots off and leaving them by the door. She paused, took a slow, deep breath, and for the first time in years, she smiled without apology. Off came the boots, and with them, that familiar ache of not enough. In that moment, her shoulders straightened, her steps lengthened, and the morning light seemed just a bit brighter. That simple act, letting go of the boots, became a turning point. She didn't need to rewrite her entire history. She just needed permission to step out of the weight of it. And if Marjorie can do it with a casual walk and a chat under the trees, you could do it too, starting right now. Feel that? That's possibility nudging at your heart, inviting you to consider what life might look like without the old burdens you've carried. In the next part, we'll dive into how to nurture curiosity once you've stepped away from that old story, how to rediscover interests you set aside long ago, and make space for fresh passions. Because as soon as you give yourself that first taste of freedom, you'll realize the adventure has only just begun. Not long after Marjorie slipped off those heavy boots, she discovered that the world around her felt more inviting than it had in years. It was like stepping into a sunlit room you'd always rushed past, never realizing the windows were open. You might remember an old hobby tucked away in a drawer somewhere, a neglected sketchbook, a dusty golf club, or the title of a novel you never quite finished. When you let go of the old story that said, "I'm too late for that," you give yourself permission to dust off those forgotten pieces of joy. Imagine the delight of finding that your hands still remember the graceful arc of a paintbrush or the satisfying click of knitting needles. That first tentative stroke or loop becomes a quiet celebration of rediscovery, reminding you that passions don't have expiration dates. They simply wait for us to come back around. As you lean into that curiosity, you begin to feel a gentle spark in your chest, as if your heart has been given a fresh battery. That spark beckons you toward new experiences, perhaps a cooking class you always thought was out of reach, or a local book club meeting where you can swap stories instead of pages. Small steps matter. Signing up for one session, asking a neighbor to join you for a casual outing, or even watching a tutorial online. With every new taste or sound or conversation, you stitch another thread of excitement into your days. And here's the thing. When your days brim with these little discoveries, life stops feeling like a routine march and starts feeling like an unfolding tapestry. One thread leads to another, and soon you've created a pattern filled with color, texture, and warmth. Then there's the power of adopting a beginner's mind. Remember the thrill of your very first school recital, your first dance lesson, or the first time you learned to drive. That mix of nerves and wonder is still within you, waiting to be tapped. Approaching something as a novice isn't a declaration of weakness. It's a celebration of growth. So lean into that slight awkwardness when you're learning the steps of Tai Chi in the park, or the fumbling laughter when you try your hand at pottery. Those moments of awkward beauty are proof that you're alive and daring to learn. And each time you let yourself be the student again, you strengthen a muscle far more important than any you'll find at the gym, the muscle of resilience. It reminds you that you can navigate uncertainty and even thrive in it. Alongside curiosity and beginner's courage, connection becomes your anchor and your sail. We're wired for community, no matter how many decades we've lived. Reaching out to a friend you've lost touch with, or attending a neighborhood gathering doesn't just fill a seat at a table. It lights up the room with the gift of your presence. I recall joining a midday walking group at the community center, mostly strangers, but within 2 sessions, we were swapping recipes and sharing stories of first loves and long-lost dreams. It transformed those ordinary sidewalks into corridors of laughter and shared memories. And before I knew it, the simple act of greeting someone with a genuine, "How have you been?" opened doors to friendships I didn't even know I was missing. When you combine these 3 threads, rediscovery of what once delighted you, the humility and excitement of being a beginner again, and the warmth of authentic connections, you start to weave an entirely new narrative. It's one where age is not a limit, but a layer of richness, and where your days are guided by gentle curiosity rather than stale habit. You'll find yourself waking up eager to see what small wonderfulness awaits. An unexpected conversation, a new skill forming beneath your fingers, or simply the satisfaction of stepping out of your front door with fresh eyes. Up next, we'll explore how to anchor these new experiences into your daily life, creating rhythms that sustain your newfound freedom and keep your spirit buoyant no matter what comes your way. In those early weeks of change, I found that the biggest boost came from weaving these fresh experiences into the fabric of daily life. One crisp morning, I realized I was humming a tune I hadn't heard in decades, one I sang in my college choir. Instead of letting it pass as a pleasant echo, I let it guide me into something new, singing along to an old choral piece, recording on my phone, and sharing it with a small online group of fellow music lovers. That single moment of following my heart's gentle nudge transformed a fading memory into a living, breathing part of my day. You see, real transformation happens when you anchor those sparks of curiosity, courage, and connection into tiny daily rituals. Maybe it's setting aside 10 minutes each afternoon to sketch in that rediscovered sketchbook. Perhaps it's greeting a neighbor on your porch with genuine warmth, not just for their sake, but as a reminder that your presence matters. Or maybe it's ending each evening by jotting down 3 small wins, moments when you learned something new, laughed out loud, or simply paused to appreciate the sunset. These small rituals don't require grand commitments. They're gentle gestures that whisper, "I'm choosing this new story day by day." I remember a Tuesday when everything felt heavy. Emails piled up, my back ached, and I nearly slipped back into the old story of "I'm too old for this hustle." Instead, I paused, closed my eyes, and thought back to that sunlit porch where I first felt free. I poured myself a cup of tea, opened my notebook, and wrote a single sentence. "Today, I choose curiosity." That tiny affirmation shifted my perspective. I spent the next hour exploring a short online tutorial on watercolor techniques, and by the time dusk arrived, My page held a playful wash of blues and greens. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine, and it reminded me that I'm never too old to discover joy in unexpected places. As these moments accumulate, they build a tapestry rich with color and texture, one that reflects not what you were, but what you are becoming. Believe me, your confidence will grow in ways you never anticipated. You'll find yourself offering advice to friends who admire your newfound spark. You'll breeze past old fears of embarrassment because you'll know the exhilaration of growth outweighs any fleeting awkwardness. And most importantly, you'll carry a deep, quiet assurance that your life, is still unfolding with surprises and delights. Now, dear friend, imagine waking up tomorrow with this sense of possibility humming at your fingertips. Picture yourself pausing after breakfast to write that affirmation, or calling an old friend to rekindle a connection. Feel how those small choices, stitch by stitch, create a new, vibrant pattern for your days. This is the freedom you gain when you walk away from the worn story of "I'm too set in my way" and step into the narrative of "I'm ready for more." Life after 60 isn't a slowing down. It's a chance to step into a richer, fuller chapter, one you write with curiosity, courage, and community. So here's to turning the page, leaving behind the old story, and greeting each new day with an open heart. You got this.